Brandon, welcome to the Sober Side podcast. It's a pleasure to have you. I'll let you do your own introduction, but before we start off, how many years clean do you have and what was your drug of choice?
3 years clean and heroin and meth.
Okay. So I'm anxious to get into your story, but first I want to understand who you are now, what you're doing, how you're involved in helping those who are battling with addiction.
Sure.
Yeah.
You want to just go?
Yeah, man. Tell me.
So I just celebrated 3 years this last July, on July 9th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I am currently a sober coach at All In Solutions outpatient. I'm actually going to be moving to case management in less than a week now. But I've been there for 2 years. I've been working in treatment for 3 years.
And how do you like working in treatment?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of emotions and, I see a lot of people coming in and out, and that's a little, I don't want to say tiresome, but it wears on you. And, I don't know. I know that I'm just there doing what I can. I help a lot of people on the side as well, like when I'm not at work. So I tend to try to focus on that part of my life rather than the part that I'm getting paid for. But yeah, I'm not really qualified to do much else, to be honest with you.
But there's a sense of fulfillment helping others.
There is, yeah.
Especially coming through your experience and your wisdom.
There is, yeah. So I'm at a point right now, after 3 years where I can look at my past and realize that it's an asset in order for me to help somebody else.
Definitely.
I know that when I first got sober, it was I was definitely one of the people that didn't believe that I could get sober. I didn't think that I deserved to be sober. But when I went through treatment myself and I met the person that ended up helping me out, he was the first person that I realized that had a story like mine, and he provided me with like solutions. I just needed to know a practical way to stay sober, to be honest with you.
And you're working in treatment. How long were you battling with addiction before you got sober?
About 15 years.
Okay.
15 solid years of heroin addiction.
Heroin and meth, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people know, some people don't, but heroin and meth kind of go together because one's a downer, one's an upper. On meth, you're up for days. On heroin, you're sleeping for days. Yep. So a lot of people even mix both of them together. I'm not sure what the term is called when you mix them both together.
A goofball?
Goofball? Yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing that. But walk me through your childhood, where you grew up, and how it was like growing up.
Okay. I had a normal childhood, like a normal, like happy childhood. My parents were normal. They did the best they could. My sister's she's actually a lawyer. She's very successful. And I don't know, I just, I chose a different path. But I had a good childhood. I went through school, I completed college. And to be completely honest with you, and I say this because, I would never say this to my child, but, my real addiction started when my child was born in 2008.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So how was college? What did you study? What's your background?
I studied philosophy. I've got a bachelor's degree in philosophy. I studied a little bit of religious studies. I was always interested in ideas and concepts and things that were intellectual, which changed dramatically when I went through my addiction and I ended up where I ended up. But that was sort of my childhood. That was like the route that I was taking. So.
Interesting. And what was your plan growing up, like learning philosophy and all that? What did you want to do with that?
So back then my plan was to go back to school and get a master's degree in English literature and become a teacher.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yep.
And a high school teacher?
So I wanted to become a professor. I'm a comic book fan. So my idea back then was to somehow integrate American comic book superhero type of genre into like legitimate literature.
Awesome, bro.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. So You graduated college. What was your first experience with, mood, mind altering substance?
My very first?
Yeah.
So it was probably, I must have been 16 is when I started smoking weed and drinking. And it all happened quick. I think the first time I got drunk was quickly followed by the first time I smoked weed, and then quickly followed by the first time I did mushrooms and ecstasy and all that. So that was like my childhood back then. It was like more like an experimental type of thing.
This is high school days.
Yeah, exactly.
So what, like junior year, sophomore, junior year?
Yeah, sophomore, junior year. Yeah.
And where did that road take you? Was this something that you really liked?
Not particularly back then, actually. Yeah, it wasn't something that I was really into. It was more like it was for fun back then.
And how did you start with that? Was it like a party or like a friend?
It was like my friend group. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you could say we were like the alternative kids and like the art kids, and dropping acid and doing all that type of stuff was looked at as like a rite of passage, I think. So
would you do like art stuff while you were on acid?
Yeah, actually, the funny story, actually, the first time I did meth, I was in Boy Scouts, and the friends that I was there with, we concocted this idea of making a music magazine, and that didn't really go anywhere, but it was an interesting little story. But yeah, we would do like artwork, and I performed music when I was in high school. I was in a couple bands. So yeah.
So it was the artistic side of you that led you to this curiosity of seeing, hey, what is this like?
Exactly.
Okay. And lead me to how you got into your drug of choice and how that all happened. You said it was after the birth of your child. So
yeah. So when my child was born, and I say that because she was born a man and now she's identifying as a female, I was scared. I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't want to do it. And I didn't really use drugs as a solution back then. That didn't come till later. So I tried to end my life. I tried to kill myself, and I was 5150'd, and I was prescribed Xanax, and that was the first time that I really kind of got heavily into something that made me check out.
What led you to trying to kill yourself?
It was I think it was a lack of confidence. I didn't think that I was capable of being a father. I was scared, and I just didn't have a lot of confidence in myself to raise a child.
And was this created by some kind of drug use, or it was completely like a sober thought?
Just a sober thought. Yeah.
Interesting. And so you were 5150'd, and they prescribed you Xanax.
Yep.
And where did that road take you?
So that took me to heroin, really. As soon as I got out of the hospital is when I started to abuse it. And the reason that was because when I took it, I felt better. Like I felt like I could deal with the world. I remember one of the first like experiences that I had out of the hospital. I was taking my kid, my son at the time, to a beach. And I remember I was loaded. And the first thought that came to my head was that I can be a father on this. Like I can be a dad while I'm high, like it took away the fear and the anxiety.
So how old were you when your child was born?
21.
21. So it was a scary experience.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it wasn't planned for or anything like that.
Yeah.
And how does Xanax become heroin? I'm curious about that.
So I was abusing Xanax for like 3 or 4 months, and like a lot. Like I couldn't even tell you how much I was taking, but I had ran out of my prescription and I had a seizure, and the paramedics were called, and I got off of the Xanax. And so I was medically like detoxed from the Xanax, and I didn't really have any other solution back then. So I met a girl that was a heroin addict that I had started working with, and the rest, I guess, is history.
So how did she seduce you to doing heroin?
So she was, man, seducing, that's a good word.
Is it an accurate word?
I think so. Yeah, actually, yeah. I was doing a lot of coke. I was doing a lot of cocaine. I was dating this girl. I'd started working with her when I moved back to Thousand Oaks from Santa Barbara. And
that's where you went to college, UCSB.
yeah, yep. That's where I went to college. That's where my child was born. And I'm from Thousand Oaks. So as soon as I graduated, we moved back. I was still living with him and his mom. And I had the seizure and I got off of it. Like they weaned me off of it. So I went to the emergency room. They told me that like I needed to get off of it.
It was a benzo-induced seizure.
Correct.
From not taking it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And yeah, it was like 3 days. I hadn't taken it in like 3 days. And like back then I had no concept of the way the brain worked or anything like that. And I just snapped and had a grand mal seizure and I came to, I couldn't remember my name. And it was a scary experience, but it was pretty much soon after that I met heroin.
So the mother of your child was not the one who introduced you to heroin.
Correct.
It was a different woman.
Yes.
Who was a coworker.
Yes.
Where were you working at this time?
Target.
Yeah. So how did you know that she was doing it, and why did it gravitate you?
So we started dating. I had left my son's mother. And we started dating, and I was doing a lot of cocaine, and I had started to run out of money fast, and she was a heroin addict, like full-blown heroin addict. And she just, I think one day she had suggested that I try it, and we drove out to San Fernando Valley and bought some heroin. And it was the first time I ever did heroin.
And what was that feeling like?
Not fun. I think the first time I did it, I got sick. And she went to prison. So I was only really smoking heroin for like a week. She committed a strong-armed robbery in my car. I was working at a pharmacy. I had left Target at the time, and I was working at a compounding pharmacy. And she had borrowed my car one time while I was at work, and she had committed a strong-arm robbery at the Promenade in Westlake. And
what's a strong-arm robbery?
Like she forced a woman down and stole her purse. Like I wasn't there, but like supposedly she had like pushed this woman. When she fell, she grabbed her purse and then just like took off. And they got the car, the license plate of my car, and they like tracked it back to my parents' house where I was living at the time. And the cops showed up. It was the first time I ever got arrested. And like a good I guess like addict at the time, before even knowing what a good addict was, I wasn't going to give up the girl. So they arrested me, and it was the first. I don't think I got charged with anything there, because she actually turned herself in when she found out that they had taken me in, and she had like confessed to the crime. She ended up going to prison, but right around the time that she went to prison is when I started shooting it up, and from there I pretty much couldn't stop.
So at first you didn't like it. You said you got sick.
Mm-hmm.
What made you keep trying to do more of it?
I think the fact that I thought I was doing it wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you were chasing that feeling, but you weren't getting it.
God, it's so, I was high, like I felt high, but the violent vomiting, like prior to the getting high, was like not like an appealing thing, So I just kept doing it until I wasn't vomiting anymore.
Until your body kind of got used to it, and you adjusted.
Yeah.
So you're doing heroin now, and your girlfriend just got arrested. What are you doing now? You're working at the compounding place, pharmacy.
So I think I'd gotten fired by then. I was like nodding off at work. This is a deep dive, man. This is like stuff I haven't really thought about in a while. So after the compounding pharmacy, I had gone to I had started working in a mailroom at Dole Food Company in Westlake. And that was the last job that I had before I like hit the streets and became homeless and started going to prison and stuff like that.
So you were doing heroin every day?
More or less. I think back then I didn't really have like a solid connect, or I didn't know a lot of people in that type of lifestyle. So I was doing it when I could and buying as much as I could, which wasn't a lot, because I don't think I had any conception of the amount that people would get back then. I mean, I was a white boy from Thousand Oaks. And
so you were getting ripped off basically?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, now that I think about it, thanks.
Yeah, man. And you were driving out where, to the valley to pick up, or was it near your house too?
Yeah, so there was some people that I was getting it from in the valley. I think there was some friends that I knew in where I was from in Thousand Oaks that I was getting it from. Yeah. Yeah. My early addiction, it was real shoddy. Like, it wasn't like I didn't like full blown dive into it. Like, it took a while to get to where I ended up going. So,
And what do you think led to that full blown addiction?
I don't really know. I don't know.
You just kept doing it until it became more consistent.
Correct. Yeah.
And so you said you got fired at this time, and you eventually end up on the street. How come you couldn't stay at your parents' house?
So they were, not cool with me, getting high.
So they knew about your behaviors.
They did. Yeah. So it was around that time. So I started getting arrested early on as well. And I was having trouble with the law, and they knew that. And, there got to be a point when I had fully accepted my addiction. And I thought that if they weren't in acceptance of my addiction, then I'm just not going to hang around. So I could have gone back at any time, is what I'm saying, had I chosen to stop, but it just didn't really factor into the equation, I guess.
Right. So why were you getting arrested? You're a good kid growing up in a good neighborhood. Why are you doing crimes?
Well, probably because I didn't have a job.
So you needed the money to fund your addiction?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if I can ask you about like the type of crimes that you would do.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, no,
that.
I was a burglar. I robbed people. That was what I did.
Like cars, houses.
Cars at the beginning, and then it went to houses. Yeah.
Just to fund the addiction, basically.
Yeah.
And
that became an addiction in itself, actually.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
So, you're in and out of prison at this point?
It was county jail.
County jail.
Yeah.
What was the longest that they would keep you in there for?
So my first felony term, I did 16 months. And then I got out, and I was out for like a week. I had committed a string of burglaries, and I did like a year. I got caught, and I did like a year, and I was on probation for 3 years. So from those periods, I was more in than out. I think I would only last like 2 or 3 days, being out,
And what was it like in prison with the addiction now part of your life?
So it's weird because I don't know if you're familiar with Ventura County Jail, but it's not like LA County Jail, and there's not really much drugs coming in. And if they do, they're going to the people that have brought them in, and there's not really any politics. So nobody's getting broken off or anything like that. So I was abstinent. Like most of the time that I did in county jail, I was abstinent. Most of the time I did in prison, I was abstinent too, but that was a whole nother story. That's a whole nother reason.
So you're not using in jail at one point, you're 16 months clean.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that you're going back out 2-3 days later doing the same thing?
Yeah, the obsession, I think, yeah. There was no point in any of that county time where I wasn't thinking about getting high. And as soon as I'd get out, it was like my parents would pick me up. They would house me for like a night. I would sneak out of the house and be off and running.
Interesting. And how long does this last until you become familiar with meth?
I started doing meth habitually at like 23, 24, 25. So when I actually moved in with the girl that I'm actually with right now, she was really big into meth. And that was around the time that I had started to do it regularly. And it got to the point where like I couldn't have one without the other.
Interesting. So at what age did you start doing heroin? Was this
21?
At 21. So 21 you're doing heroin, and then walk me through how you met your current girlfriend.
Yeah. It was actually a drug diversion. She had caught in a case for something. I was there because I had that girl that had introduced me to heroin. She had overdosed in a motel that we were staying in, and I had called I'd called 911, for the paramedics, and back then there wasn't like no law against like calling the paramedics on people. So the cops came in, and I was naked in this hotel room, like just fucked up, and there was like a gram of heroin on the counter, and they confiscated it and took me to jail. And I got on drug diversion for that. That was the first charge that I'd ever gotten.
So walk us through what exactly drug diversion is. Is that like a prison program?
It's a county thing. Yeah. It's like basically for low level drug offenders who like don't really have a record. They're given an opportunity to take classes and go to outpatient treatment and get it like basically wiped off their record.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you met her in jail?
In drug diversion. It was at an outpatient drug treatment.
Like, what's the structure of this program? Like, is it like, are you allowed to leave or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like an outpatient care.
It is. Yeah.
Okay. So you meet her there. And then how did you guys, start doing meth together?
So she had called me to get some heroin, and because I didn't stop using heroin while I was in there. I was actually using her urine to pass the UAs and just like scamming the system and stuff like that. And I think once we had both completed successfully, she had called me and she was looking for heroin, and I was, a full-blown heroin addict who had connections, and I started, basically selling her drugs. Yeah.
So you got her onto heroin and she got you onto meth.
Yeah, she was already she had already been doing heroin at that point. I think she had a period of sobriety while she was in that outpatient center. And then, once she completed, I'm assuming she probably she's an addict just like me. Can't not have it, But yeah, she was really big into meth too before I met her. And I wasn't. And when I moved in there eventually after like only knowing her for like a week, that was when I started to do a lot of meth.
Because she was doing it and you're like, let me try some.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. But you said your first experience with meth was at Boy Scouts?
Yeah. I was 16 when I first did it. Yeah.
Okay. And then you hadn't done it before?
Pretty much. Yeah. It pretty much from that point, from like 16 to 22, I hadn't done it in between there.
Okay. And at 16, what was it like doing meth for the first time?
It was fun. I mean, there was fun. It was fun. I mean, we came up with like a brilliant idea for a music magazine, and like we had stayed up all night, and like we were on a camping trip, and yeah.
But then after that, there was no obsession with it or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the obsession started to brew after moving in with this girl who you are with currently, and she's sober as well.
Yeah.
So you're doing meth, you're doing heroin, and what happens next?
I hit the streets. Yeah, that was around, we stayed together, I think, for 6 months. She had gone off to get sober and I didn't. And I had moved into the back of this woman's house. So there was this guy that was selling me meth that I had met, and he's since passed. But he had a sister who was overweight and had diabetes and all that. And when he died, she offered to let me come stay with her. And she had this like little like trailer parked in her backyard. And I had gone to live with her with the intention of helping her out like health wise and like, clean her dishes and whatnot. But I ended up like just basically selling drugs out of that thing and like not doing anything to help her.
So how did she, I'm assuming she finds out and kicks you out, or?
No. So she was a little weird. She was not really an addict, but she hung around a lot of addicts. She was letting a lot of like homeless people from the area that I was in crash there. And she knew that I was selling drugs out of there. But she didn't do much to dissuade me from doing that. But eventually she did kick me out. Yeah. Eventually she did.
Okay. So was this in the Valley, or was this?
This was in Thousand Oaks.
Or it was in Thousand Oaks?
Yeah.
Okay. So she kicks you out. How was that like? She kicks you out, and what do you do? Like,
God, I think that was around the time that I started doing all that time. So I had set up a tent in they used to call it the Jungle. It was off the 23 freeway. I think they cleared it out, but I set up a tent after that. I had like started hanging out with a lot of homeless people, and I had moved into this homeless encampment off the 23 freeway, and I had set up a tent there, and I just like did my thing.
And what was it like kicking it with homeless people?
Um, it didn't factor in my mind. Like at that time, I was so focused on getting high that nothing mattered. Like nothing. I mean, then this is coming from a guy who like was raised like in a really nice place, like within a really nice house, but like I was just so wanting to get high that it didn't really matter, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's that life like on the street? You know,
I mean, it was hard. It wasn't easy. You know, I was basically committing crimes to get by. You know, I would steal food when I got hungry, which wasn't very often. And yeah, I mean, it was not fun. It wasn't fun, you know, and back then it was like I was always on probation, so I'm always looking over my shoulder. I basically couldn't come out during the day. Yeah, it was not fun. And I was moving around too. A lot of times, like I was homeless out in the valley for a long time. I had gotten out of county jail one time on one of my violations, and I had been sentenced to a program in South Central. So I lived there for several months, you know, getting high the whole time.
and you're getting high on heroin and meth?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
the whole time.
And then so fentanyl wasn't around back
Fentanyl
then?
was not really around.
Okay.
Yeah, in 2018, I had done fentanyl. I shot it up actually, and I think it was fentanyl. I actually blew out my vein because I'd just gotten out of county jail. But yeah, there wasn't really fentanyl back then. Fentanyl didn't really hit the streets until after I got out of prison. Like it became a thing when I got out of prison, and by then I had those 2 years clean, and I wasn't like. It wasn't my intention to start getting high again, you know? And my experience in 2018 with the fentanyl, because I had overdosed, like I'd popped my vein and I watched the blood and the heroin come out of my body, and like I still overdosed. Like the needle was in my arm, and the everything was coming out, and like I overdosed. I was by myself in this like shady motel in Ventura, and I was sick for like 2 days after that. And like, I get high to get high. Like I don't have no, like any death wish. Like, I mean, it got to a point where I was living to get high. I wasn't like, I didn't have any suicidal ideations anymore. Right. Like I was like devoted to the high, you know? And, yeah, I had that experience, and I had told myself that I would never gonna do fentanyl again, because it had fucked with my high. And then when I got out of prison, you know, I was in prison from 2019 to 2022. It was like basically almost impossible to find heroin. I had found a guy through the girl that I'm currently dating that had a dealer that was still selling heroin. And I'm, you know, it's not like I know for sure if it was like pure or not, but like I was shooting up heroin as soon as I got out of prison. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then how did you end up in prison for the 2 years?
So it was 3 years, and I had done a string of burglaries in Westlake Village. I had actually gotten, yeah, it was burglaries. Yeah. I got booked in for 3 actually, and they were trying to give me 15 years. And at the time I wanted to take it, because of a lot of different reasons.
The 15 years?
15 years. Yeah. And yeah, 15 years and 3 strikes. That was the first offer that they gave me. And I was going to take it. I had burglarized like 20 houses in this like 2-week period. And they had arrested me. I was arrested. So during this time, I was also fighting another case for identity theft, because I had gotten I don't remember when this particular event happened, but it was before my prison term. It was before those burglaries were committed. I had robbed a car. I had broken into a car, and I had stolen the credit cards, and I'd used the credit cards with my identification to get a hotel room. And I had like it was like a fake BB gun. And like I had bought like tons of, like, I don't even know how much heroin, but I had like a ton of heroin in the motel room. I had like a fake gun that looked real. And then I had like a stack of credit cards, and I'd gone out to get like food or something. And the maids had come in, and they saw the gun, and they'd called the cops. The cops had found out I was on probation. And in between them calling and the cops coming, I had come back to the hotel room. I had grabbed the gun and the drugs, and I'd left again. And when they came, they found the credit cards. So I was under investigation for these credit cards that I had stolen. and they had sent my parents, the notice that they're filing for this, and I had missed a court date, and I had just gotten out of my second term. And so I was trying to basically do okay. Like I had maxed out my probation, so I was no longer on probation. So I was like trying to like basically maintain like a no trail, like no, I didn't want to be on probation, So as soon as I found out that they had filed that case, that charge, I had put myself on calendar to go take care of it. And when I went there, the cops were waiting for me, these two detectives from Ventura County. And that was because I had committed this string of burglaries during that period. So
they arrest you.
Yep, they arrest me.
They take you in, and you're facing 15 years.
Yep.
And why did you want to take 15 years and not?
One of the things that they kept threatening me with, because they only booked me in for 3, and I had done like a string of them, and they kept threatening me with more time. And they were basically like, if you don't sign for this 15 years, we know you did more, and you're going to get added time to it. So I was like, okay, like I might as well take the lesser of the two evils, which would have been 15 years in my like eyes at the time, So,
but from 15 to 3, it's a drastic change.
Yeah. So the public defender that I had, so there was in that particular case, there was no evidence that I had ever entered the house. There was no camera footage. There was footage of me like on the properties. When they arrested me at the courthouse, they had raided the house that I was staying at. I was staying at my friend's house in Westlake in the neighborhood that I was burglarizing. And they had arrested him because he had taken me to the courthouse. And he had, I guess, I'm assuming he had told them that I was staying with him because as soon as I got booked in, they had raided his house and found all the stolen goods, but they still couldn't prove that I was like in the houses. And so 2 of them dropped. 2 of them dropped completely. And then the one that they had me on camera, like lurking around the property, it dropped to an attempted residential burglary. So I got 3 years for the attempted residential burglary. I got 2 years for my 2 prison priors for those 2 prior felony convictions that I had. And then I got 8 months for the identity theft stuff. Yeah.
Interesting. So who was your lawyer at this time?
I don't even remember her name. She was just a public defender out of Ventura County.
She was pretty good at her job, huh?
I mean, yeah, she fought for me. I mean, I was like, I had gone into her, I had approached her saying, I'm going to sign for this. And she was like, hold on. Like, let's see what we can do here, So if it hadn't been for her, I'd still be in there.
Interesting. So you go in there 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you using during this time?
The first year I did. Yeah. So when I hit reception, I was still like I shot up heroin a couple times. I shot up meth a shit ton of times.
In jail?
In prison. Yeah.
This was in Ventura, or was this somewhere else now?
This is now. So I went from Ventura. I was in Ventura County fighting the case for 4 months. When I got sentenced, they sent me to Wasco. So I was on D yard there for 3 months, and I was getting high that entire time.
So it was a lot easier to find drugs in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. People were coming in with it and passing it around. And
was it free, or would you buy it? Or
I had a neighbor who was giving me a lot on the strength, but generally, I don't think the only time I ever paid for heroin when I was in prison, I was in the hole at Jamestown, and there was a Southsider who was one of my neighbors who had brought it in, and he was selling it, and I bought like $20 worth, I think, which was tiny. And I also didn't end up paying him back for like a month because I had missed commissary, which was a stressful time because you don't want to owe people in there. Yeah,
I bet. But so that's pretty crazy, man. Like, I mean, they're giving out drugs for free in there, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So this Crip from Compton, who was my neighbor, I don't know if I should say this like out loud because
you don't have to mention names.
Yeah. Well, I'm a white boy too. So, or I run with the white boys. I'm half Asian too. My mother's Asian, but I ran with the white boys when I was in there.
Do the Asians have like their own group?
They do. Yeah. Yeah. They have their own car and yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Gnarly. Yeah.
Okay, so your neighbor, the Crip.
Yeah, he had some friend who had come up from county jail, and he had come in with like an ass full of fucking meth, and he was just like sliding me a bunch, basically anytime I asked.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Like they're just giving out free drugs in jail.
Yeah, yeah,
with nothing in return.
I didn't give him anything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first year. I mean, you're using. Why did you decide to stop? You're getting it for free. Like it's.
that wasn't like a normal experience. Like this guy was just like we had like
You just had the right friends.
Yeah. And he was my neighbor. So we would talk in the vents all the time. And this was a 23-hour lockdown too. When I was in reception on D-Yard, it's a 23-hour lockdown. So we're only out of our cells for an hour a day. And so most of the day is just us talking through the vents. So, we like had a friendly relationship. Yeah. And then I would just fish over there and he would like put the meth in like a little bag and I would fish it back. And we had the white boys had a little rig that was going around at the time. So I would just use this like little homemade rig and shoot it up. Yeah.
Oh, you were shooting it up.
Yeah.
So what's this rig that you're talking about?
It's like made out of a pen.
It's a needle.
It's a needle. Yeah. So like I've never seen it done before. But from what I understand is they bring back like people who have diabetes will bring back their syringes. They'll find a way to bring it back to the whatever it is, the pod. And they would cut off the needle and then they would like make it out of like a big pen and like the plunger would be made out of a sandal. And
sandal?
Yeah. A sandal.
How do you make a plunger out of a sandal?
It's like the foamy part of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd actually gone up there like fully thinking that I was going to get Hep C. Like I was like, yeah, I'm going to get Hep C. I don't really give a fuck.
It's next level ingenuity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. So why did you decide to stop? I mean, you have access to it at any time that you want. You have the right friends for it.
So COVID happened.
Oh, okay.
COVID happened and
while you're in prison.
While I'm in prison. Yeah. So I went from reception. They sent me to Jamestown. I had I wasn't like a violent crime. So I was sent to a 1 yard. And when I was up there, they were reintegrating the general population was reintegrating with the PCs were starting to integrate with the general population on the 1 and 2 yards. So they had sent me to a 1 yard and I had gotten off. I had gotten into a riot the day that they sent us there. Right. And the reason I had done that too was because like the people that I was getting my drugs from at that point were like gang members, and I was afraid my drug supply was going to get cut off. So every act of violence that I committed in prison was to further my drug career.
So you kind of like joined a gang in a sense?
I mean, I wouldn't say that. Like, you got to remember too, because I'm a white boy, and the people that I was getting my drugs from on the streets were mostly Southsiders. So I wouldn't even be able to join their gang. And and then there's the fact that I'm a half Asian, and where I eventually paroled from, it wasn't made a big deal. But I know that there were like older cats that wouldn't fuck with me because I was not pure white.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I wouldn't probably.
But I mean, from looking at you, I can't tell you're half Asian. So
I don't want to know if that's like a good thing or not.
I mean,
I got the almond eyes, dude.
Just my observation. Okay. But like, how did they find out that you're half Asian?
I mean, I wasn't like, I didn't try to hide it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who would you hang out with? I mean, like the white boys, as you call them, like they didn't want to hang out with you because you're half Asian, which is interesting. So who was like your group there?
I hung out with white boys. It was the older guys that had been around for a while that didn't want to like walk with me on the yard.
Interesting, man. Yeah, I love asking all the prison questions because it's like it's interesting, like the way that whole thing works. And so COVID happened, and how did that stop your drug use?
So there was no movement. There was no movement. Drugs were not coming in. It was like a forced sobriety. Yeah. And there was a lockdown too. So I was like stuck in a cell for like a good part of a year.
And did anyone get COVID in jail at that time?
Yeah, I did.
Was it? You got it.
I got COVID when I was.
So it was spreading in there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. And did they make you guys wear masks and 6 feet different distance?
At the beginning, so they put us on lockdown, so we weren't even seeing anybody. Like it took them like 3 or 4 months to even start letting us out for showers.
Wow, you guys didn't shower for 4 months?
You got a bird bath in there.
What's a bird bath?
It's like
pot of water?
It's like a sink.
Oh, sink.
It's like a sink, yeah.
Sink. Crazy.
Yeah, you just plug up the sink and you like let it fill up and you go from there.
Man, how's that experience doing all that?
I'm resilient because of it.
I love that answer. It's a great answer. So COVID forced you to be sober.
Yeah.
Did you experience any withdrawals or anything like that? Any kind of
So by that point, I wasn't habitually using. I wasn't using every day. It was when I could, when it was available, when I was like hooked up. But yeah, I didn't really, I wasn't like balling at the time back then. So like $20 on my books was like probably all I had. And that was like a lot for me, so I wasn't using on a regular basis. I wasn't using every day. During that lockdown though, there had gotten to a point where I was like fiending for heroin. And somebody had told me to connect with the medical staff, and I got on Suboxone. My last 2 years in there, I was on Suboxone.
And for those who don't know what Suboxone is, it's pretty much a similar compound as heroin is.
Yeah.
It's an opiate.
Buprenorphine and naloxone.
Yeah.
Like that.
And it usually comes in a strip, right?
Mm-hmm.
Strip, or there's tablet versions of it.
The Subutex, I think.
So were you using it the way it was intended, or was there some kind of modification that was happening?
So at the beginning, I would take it to get high. I remember,
and it would get you high.
Yeah. So I also was taking, had been prescribed like 600 milligrams of like Tylenol or something. So as soon as the med cart would come around, I would take that Suboxone and then pop like 2 or 3 Tylenols, and I would just like knock out. You know what I mean? And that was like for the first like year of me taking Suboxone. And then I wasn't getting high anymore, and I was like full blown addicted to it. I'd actually tried to get off of it when I was about to parole, because I was like, dude, I don't want to be on this when I get out, and I couldn't do it. Like I withdrew like bad. Like I was shitting and like vomiting. I couldn't leave my cell. And by then the lockdown had ended, so like we could leave our cells, but like I couldn't. Like every time I'd done it twice, I tried to get off of it twice when I was about to parole, and both times I got back on it. So I'd actually paroled with a prescription of Suboxone.
Interesting. So you get out of this 3-year term, and how soon after that did you go back to
3 days?
3 days.
3 days.
So you were technically like sober for 3 days after?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't Suboxone, if that is considered sober. I tend to think of it as sober, but
ish.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So I actually got on the shot when I went to treatment. They'd offered that shot, that Sublocade shot, not knowing any idea what it was. But the fact that they had like sold it by telling me that if I ever decided to stop taking it, there would be no withdrawals. I took it. I took it twice, and I never took it again. I've never gotten back on Suboxone.
Interesting. And what were your parents doing during this time? Did you have a relationship with them? What was that like?
Like when I was in prison?
Yeah.
I didn't talk to them much. That entire year of COVID lockdown, we weren't able to use phones. I think I might have heard from them a few times through letters, but they were just living their life, going on trips like Costa Rica and shit with my sister, and raising my kid, all that shit, helping to raise my kid.
So they were just kind of letting you do your thing.
Yeah. I think by that point they had just fully accepted that I was like full blown heroin addict. And like by that time, a convict, like, and they were just like, yeah, we're not. I didn't have much relationship with them during the later years.
And what about during the times when you're like out on the streets and things like that?
Same. I think I would call them on occasion, like an oh shit call, like I need help, and they would like let me stay with them for a night or two, and I would end up leaving, or they would end up finding drugs on me and kicking me out and that type of deal.
Okay. So you come out, and then 3 days later, what do you do?
So I had paroled. So I had a strike. I had gotten a strike for that term. So I had 24 hours to check in to my parole officer. And I had checked in. I'd gotten released on a Sunday. I checked in on a Monday. I had passed with flying colors. The second day out, I had gotten bored. I didn't know what to do with myself. And by the day 3, I'd gotten a phone call from a girl I lived with in the homeless camp. And thought it would be a good idea to go out there and say hi to everybody.
To all the homeless people.
Yeah.
And you go there and they're doing drugs.
They're getting high. They're shooting up. And I had like maintained like a solid, like, no, I'm good, but the very next day, after like less than 24 hours, I'm back there asking to buy a sack of meth. And that's how it usually starts for me is I usually get out of jail or prison or jail I've only gotten out of prison one time, but I would always get out of county jail and I would go straight for the meth because it was an upper. I could like stay awake. I could get shit done. I could make up for lost times. And then I would get so strung out on the meth that I would have to go back to heroin and then like, you get strung out on the heroin as well.
Interesting. So how long does that last where you're hanging out with the old crew and doing meth, doing heroin?
What was the question?
How long does that last?
Well, I mean, in my case, it lasted three months. I
until the overdose with the fentanyl?
No, that happened before I went to prison.
Okay.
Actually, like right before I went to prison, that happened. I was on parole and I was having to check in twice a month. And
give UAs and things like that.
It would be UA
Drug
once
tests.
a month, and then he would do a random check another time, sometime in the month. So I never knew when he was going to come back, and I thought I could manage it, and I thought I could get away with it, and I had even like gone so far as to buy fake pee, like the synthetic pee. But I've never been one to like skirt from my addiction. Like it was like all or nothing for me, and so I gotten to a point where I was either going to get sober or I was going to go back to prison. And that was where it led to. Like, so 3 months after I'd gotten out, I had given no clean tests. And my parole officer was basically like giving me a choice. He was like, you're either going to stop or I'm going to violate you and you're going to go back. And that experience that I had during COVID, because the lockdown like fucked me up, dude. It was the first time in my life that I had been without drugs since I had started. And like, it really clicked for me that my life was fucked. And it allowed me to have the willingness to change. Even though like I started getting high when I got out, I still had that experience fresh in my mind. Like I was like, I'm going to go back to prison. I'm like, I saw a prison cell. Every time I got high for those 3 months, it was like a prison cell was right in front of me. And I just didn't want to do that anymore.
So your probation officer gives you an ultimatum of either getting clean or going back to jail. So how did you choose to go on the clean path?
So it's funny. And so my parole officer, the relationship that I had with my parole officer was like fairly good because I was honest with him the whole time. I had told him, I admitted to him when I had started getting high again. And he, I don't know his background, but he was more or less honest with me as well. And one of the things that he had said to me before I had gotten clean was he didn't know what to do, that he wasn't trained to deal with an addict, right? Because I wasn't committing crimes anymore. Mm-hmm. I was just getting high, right? Which was a violation of the money
to buy the drugs if you're not committing the crime.
So I'd gotten paroled with $2,100 from that COVID stimulus check.
Oh,
yeah.
So that lasted 3 months.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, less than 3 months. I think I had spent it in like a week or two, but yeah, I hit a lot of drugs. I bought like $300 worth of crack before I went to treatment, like a shit ton of heroin and meth. Like, yeah.
So, okay. So he doesn't know how to deal with that. How did you guys come up with a solution?
So how I was telling you about the Suboxone thing. So when I had been paroled, they had connected me with a county run like Suboxone program. And they knew that I wasn't clean and that I was struggling. And they had some sort of relationship with Tarzana Treatment Center out here in the Valley. And they had connected me with a bed at the detox. And it took about a week. It was like a week. So I had made an appointment to go into detox. And it was like a week period before I actually checked in.
So you checked into Tarzana. Walk me through what your first couple of days in treatment were like.
Fucking awful, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It was the first time that I had kicked heroin in 3 years. And I had I didn't remember how bad it could be. I had also put myself into precipitated withdrawal because I had like demanded that they put me on Suboxone like right away. And they made me sign some waiver that like released them of all liability. And I was like, do it. And the first day I took it, I was like sitting in my bed, just like going, like having the shakes. It was bad. But I was like pretty out of it the entire time I was in treatment. So it was a 90-day program. I did detox for 5 days. And then I was in like a 90-day program and I was out of it. Right. Like, so by this time the shame and the guilt had caught up with me. And I had that to deal with when I got sober. I told you kind of at the beginning of our talk is that I didn't think that I was worthy of it. Right. On my second term, and I just say this, I say this a lot because it like kind of, I guess, illustrates my shame, is that this first house that I'd ever gotten convicted of burglarizing, there were children in the house. And when I had gotten my discovery packet after getting convicted and doing the time, the children had written letters to the courts explaining their fear of my act. And that is one of the things that I really had to like deal with, you know, is like, I have had countless like there were more victims in my crimes than I can count. And that was what I had to deal with when I got sober.
Interesting. So how do you deal with that then?
I don't. I don't. So one of the, you know, I did the 12 steps. Like I did the 12 steps. I found a sponsor when I was in treatment, and I worked through the 12 steps, and I make amends by not doing it. And one of the big parts of my life today is giving back what I have been given. And that's the main focus of my life today, is I use that past, those experiences that I have, to help another person that could be in my shoes that comes later. You know, that's my most valuable asset, is my past. And like for the first year, it was front and center in my mind, like all the shame and all the fucked up shit that I'd done. Right. But I had also gotten to that point where I was willing to do anything to stop doing that. It's just one of my friend Andy always says that to gain self-esteem, you have to commit esteemable acts. So I started to do that. And that's like really what turned the tide for me. You know, I still hold those people in my mind and in my heart. But it's, you know, I can't reach out to them. Like I'm actually like court ordered to not have any contact with any.
Well,
victims.
This might be a way.
Well, yeah, maybe they'll see it. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it was me, I would like look at this and be like, if that was the guy that burglarized my house, I'd be pretty angry. But you know, the hope is that they also can forgive me. Like that's something I've had to do for myself, is I've had to forgive myself.
Forgiveness is for everyone. You know, no matter what you've done, everybody deserves forgiveness, especially when you're doing things that you're not in control of, right? People need to understand when you're on drugs and when you're living this type of lifestyle, you're not the one in control. There's a spiritual realm out there that is in control.
Yeah. And,
you know, people need to understand that, and they need to be willing to forgive those who hurt them, you know? So what was the main thing that drove you to staying sober this time?
Prison. Yeah, for sure. Like at the beginning, it was like it
fear of going back to prison.
Yeah. So in my mind, like I know where my addiction goes. Like I've repeated that behavior and that pattern for so many years of my life that I can already tell you where I will go if I get high again. Like that's a given. And yeah, that's one of the things too that like really draws me in, is like I'm just not willing to do that. Like I'm not willing to do any, like commit any act, whether good or bad, that will lead me back to that place. I'm just not going to do it.
Well, glad to know that our institutions are working.
Yeah. The rehabilitation part worked for sure.
That's good, man. So you do the 90 days at Tarzana, and you start getting involved in the 12 step. Are you going to meetings? What's that process like?
So I started to go to meetings after I got out. I was there still. They had COVID protocols, so we weren't going anywhere. We had the H&I panels that would come in every night, and that's how I met my sponsor, you know, and once I got out, he would pick me up from my sober living every day, and I would go to meetings with him, and he introduced me to the fellowship. And I do a lot of Cocaine Anonymous. So that was what the fellowship that he was involved in. And yeah, it's cool because that CA is like it's like a non-denominational drug fellowship. Like they don't care like what you've done, or like it doesn't matter like how you identify, addict or alcoholic. They're still going to help you. And they work out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is like the original, like uncut.
Yeah. So how is Cocaine Anonymous different from Narcotics Anonymous?
I think it's just the basic text that they use is the only difference. Yeah. So the NA will work their steps out of the NA big book or the NA book, whatever they use. But Cocaine Anonymous has gotten approval from like an Alcoholics Anonymous World Service to use their book as their basic text.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you're sticking to the program. I mean, you're allowing for others to show you the way, right? So you found a sponsor. You're doing the 12-step. How do you see the change working within you from doing these things?
That's a good question. I don't know, actually. Well, I didn't see it at first. I think I just stayed sober long enough to like see it happening around me. You know, and I still suffer from like that conception that I'm still that person. But it doesn't hold much weight these days. Like it doesn't hold as much as it did when I was first newly getting sober.
It's like a memory from the past.
Yeah, wait, say that again.
Is it like a memory from the past?
It is,
like
yeah.
This person that you used to be.
Yeah, like the questions that you were asking me, that like to me was a whole nother lifetime, a whole nother person. It gets hard for me to remember a lot of that stuff, you know. But yeah, I mean, my entire life is revolved around recovery. Like I do not have, there's no point in my day that like is not like heavily revolved around like sobriety or recovery. I mean, I work in treatment now, so it's like 24/7, and even sometimes that gets to be too much. But like, it's a lot better than what it was when I was fucking locked in a cell, you know. Like, and that's like a really like cliche thing to say, but like I lived it, and I know the pain and like the heartache that goes into that shit.
You know what's interesting? You know, a lot of professionals say that addiction is a disease of brain chemistry, right? You need time for your brain to change back to the way it was before. But with your story, I see that you had that experience where your brain had enough time to change, but there was a part of you that led you back into addiction. But this time around, after going to Tarzana, you maintained the sobriety. This might be a tough question, but what do you think is the difference from having sober time in jail versus actually going through the steps and working the program and seeing the difference now?
Spiritual experience. That's the only difference. Is I went through a spiritual change, and my entire like thought process has been revolutionized by that.
Interesting. Can you walk me through this spiritual experience that you had?
It wasn't any like white light moment. It was more like gradual, and it continues today. Like it's more like I started to see the people around me change. One of the first things that I noticed when I got out of treatment and I started hanging around like the recovery community was that the people on my Facebook friends list started changing. It was no longer not friend requests, but like people you might know. And these people were all in recovery. And that was the first thing that I noticed about my life when it was changing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely surround yourself with people that you want to be like, right? So you have 3 years now, and you've been working the steps every day.
Yep.
What recommendation would you give, or what bit of wisdom would you give to a viewer who's battling with addiction, is feeling like they're trapped, and is looking for a way out?
I think the big part of what you just said was the fact that they might be looking for a way out, because I know a lot of people that come in and they are not looking for a way out, you know? My first recommendation is fuck your life up. Like, fuck your life up to the point of being willing to do anything it takes to stop. And that's really what it took for me.
Like hitting that rock bottom?
Yeah. Yep.
And do you think that it's a mandatory step, or are people able to not hit that rock bottom and still find a way out?
Yeah. It just wasn't my experience. But I've seen people that have done it.
And what is the similarities amongst those people that you see that haven't hit that rock bottom? What is that?
The people that put in the work are the ones that stay stopped continuously.
Amazing. And say, God forbid, let's say today was your last day. How would you want the world to remember you?
Funny, I hope. Sense of humor, caring. caring, and a sense of humor.
Awesome. And I can sense that that's the energy that you give to those that you're helping.
I hope so. I don't know.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. We can hope so.
It's been amazing, brother. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, thank you, man.